right. Hi, guys.
Hello.
So how did you guys do with Microsoft or Access Module 2 last past week?
That was awful.
Okay.
I found it actually turned out to be really pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Once I started like reading the information and actually working with it, it was pretty quick to grasp, at least for me.
Okay. And that makes sense that it's that way for some people, and other people it's just not their thing, and
Yeah,
that's okay.
it was good until I lost all my information.
Yes. I have had students have that issue before, and it's difficult for me to determine when we're not in the classroom. But what I have noticed in the classroom is they save their document in one place when it's downloaded, and then they will save it to the location where they want to save it and keep it. But then when they go to upload it, they grab that one from the downloaded that hasn't been saved or updated like the other one was. So, and I don't know that that's what you did, but I know it's also difficult with Access because all of the textbook projects that you turn in have the exact same name because it just builds on each module. So that can be the problem too. If you saved it in one place for module 1 and then you saved it in a different place for module 2, and then you just grabbed the wrong one when you went to submit it that second time. So anyway,
yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that myself. So I started making multiple layers of folders because I was just like, it wants me to save over this file, but this file was for the previous one. So
right.
I had to save in a different location. And yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's the only thing that's bad about the Access portion of this. Well, there's probably other things that are bad about the Access portion of this, but I wish they would do a renaming differently, so it's a little bit easier to determine. What is this? Oh, I don't think that's what I want to be. I grabbed the wrong thing. All right. Okay, so tonight we're going to be looking at module 3. And you'll notice when you open up your file that's downloaded from Cengage, that it has all of those queries and all of those reports and all of those forms that you've created in projects 1 and 2, or in modules 1 and 2. So there is quite a bit to look at when you actually get in there, but you can, in that navigation pane, because we're not going to be working with queries all the time, you can use the, there's a double arrow there that you can use to collapse all those queries or tables or forms so that you don't have that full list over there showing on the left-hand side. Okay, I'm trying to get my textbook open here. So I subbed for another person yesterday, but I couldn't work out here at the computer I normally work at. So I was on my laptop all day. And that was a challenge for me to see. And I had to get my actual textbook out to follow along because I couldn't do my textbook and my screen at the same time. So I felt you guys yesterday that are dealing with just one computer. It can be a challenge. So hopefully we'll be able to be in the classrooms this fall or summer. I don't know, but hopefully by the fall we will be able to. Are any of you planning on taking the 215 class?
I don't know yet.
No? Okay.
It depends on what my research over the summer shows, because I have to pretty much I have to go out of state to look at universities for the major that I'm taking. So I have to talk to the academic advisor and everything to see what credit courses that I'm going to need.
Yep. So, well, I will tell you, if you need an elective and this class has been fairly easy for you, I wouldn't say easy, but if you found it to be something that's manageable for you, there is a 215 class it's set up the same way as this, but it's only it's only been offered online for several years now, which would not be anything different than what you've had this semester, but it might be something for some of you to look at if you have to have an elective of some kind that you're not having to fill in with another requirement somewhere else. So, okay, let me go ahead and share my access screen with you guys. All right, so project 3 or module 3 here, this module talks about maintaining your database. So we'll start out with things as simple as editing a field or editing a record. There's lots of ways you can edit fields, whether you need to edit the field name itself or edit some of the properties from it being a short text to a long text or a number or a currency to something else. So those are all different things that we can change, make adjustments to, as well as we will be going in and doing some structural changes. We will be adding a new field. We'll be learning how to create what's called an update query. Those are also referred to as action queries. You can have an update query, a delete query, an append query, and a make a table query. And we've had to do those in the homework in one of our modules, but I can't remember if that was the last version or this version, since I've only taught from this 2019 for one semester now. And it all just kind of goes together. So we may have to, you may have to do some reading in the textbook if you have to do an append or a delete query, but I will point that out to you when we get to that portion of it. We'll also learn how to do some filtering. Filtering is something that we can do instead of creating queries. It's maybe something that you just need for a real quick reference, but it's not something that you're going to need to save and reuse. And then we'll look at creating a relationship between two tables, and then enforcing what's called referential integrity between those two tables. So, and then once we have them joined, or we have that relationship between them, then we can, I'll show you what's called sub data sheets at the very end, and you can see how those work. So I did just finish recording the Module 3 textbook project last night. So it's loading here up into YouTube. So I'll get that posted as soon as it finishes here. So if you need to refer to that, you can. So the first thing that they have us do in Module 3 is we're going to create what's called a split form. A split form is going to look just like the forms that we created on the top half of our screen. The bottom half of our screen is going to look like the data sheet view of the table that we're creating the split form based on. So we want to use the veterinary vendors table, and we're going to create not a query. We're going to create, hold on, I got to go back. We're going to create a form. But if you look here in the form section, there is not anything that says a split form. So you'll have to go to this more forms, and there you'll see your split form, and it's just going to create. Oh, hold on. Sorry. You used to be able to have your table selected over here, and then when you went to create your form, it created that for you. So we have to. Why am I in a query? I don't want to be in a query. Okay, let me start over here. Here's my form. I'm going to do more forms, and then I'm going to do a split form. Now it should work for us. All right, I got off by clicking on that create query to begin with, which I did not intend to do. So here is our form at the top. So we have our form view, and then we have our data sheet view down here at the bottom. Okay. Why am I not? All right. I'm not seeing my navigation buttons down here like I want to. So we will do this. Okay, so that's still not gonna let me stand. Okay, well, that's fine. We'll deal with that. So down here in our lower portion of the data sheet view, you do have navigation buttons. And I think I was supposed to mention this in one of the previous modules. And then when I was doing the recording last night, I was like, I don't know if I pointed that out to them or not. But when you're in data sheet view or form view, you can use these navigation buttons to move between the different records that you have. So it will also tell you which record you're on of how many. So right now I'm looking at 1 of 5. These are much more helpful when you have more than 5 records that you're looking at. So when you can see everything on your screen, the navigation buttons are really not anything that's needed. But so your first step is creating the split form like we have done. And then all you're going to do is click on your save button up here on your quick access toolbar. And then after the word or after the title veterinary vendors, we're going to type split form to save that as a new form. So you'll see over here in your form section of your navigation pane that you have that split form that has shown up there now. So forms are usually pretty easy to create based on the tables that you have. You are going to use this form to create a new record. So you can use the navigation buttons down here to click on the new blank record button. You can click on this asterisk line here to create a new record, or you can, don't think we can use one of these. We'd have to go back to the home ribbon, and then in your record section, you'll see the new button, and it's dimmed out right now because I already clicked on it down here. But because this table has the ID field, that's the auto number field, we're not going to put anything in that. It will just automatically add that number when we start putting in the rest of our data. Okay, so this is going to be a challenge because I have my regular glasses and not my computer glasses. So I'm having to blow up this so I can see it over here. So our new vendor, you'll just type in here, maybe if I can, oh, sorry. I did this the other day too. I probably did this in the video. When you have the yellow bars around here, you're in the layout view and you can't add data in layout view. So I have to change my view over here to form view to be able to do data entry. So this is where you'll just add your record information. And also, I have a tendency when I am doing either data sheet view or form view, I forget to hit the tab key to go to the next field. So then I get to the end and I'm like, why do I have an extra blank here? That is leukemia something. Let me see here. Vaccine. All right. Okay, so we can, we're going to stay in this because they have us do a search. What is it that we search for? I skipped right past that. Okay, so we're going to select the veterinary vendors. Oh, we have the veterinary vendor split form, and we're going to click on the veterinary supply field. And then in the veterinary supply field, you are going to search for microchips. So you will use on the home ribbon, the find, and then you can just search for microchips in there. And it should bring up the record that has microchips, which we can obviously see from this list here. Because what you're going to do for the Maize Supply Corporation is they have changed the organization of their company, and it is no longer a corporation, it is an LLC. So you're just going to edit that. And so there, that was searching for something. If you need to use the search, I will say one thing about the find button. You can search in the current field. So like we were in the veterinary supply, or we could search in the current document, which would search more than just that particular field. So again, if you find that you're needing to do a find and replace, you do have that option there of doing the replace if you need to. You will be deleting a record. That's fairly easy to do. You're just going to select the record that you need to get rid of. In this case, it's the Sanchez supplies. So you can see that that's record number 5. So you could use your navigation buttons to get to number 5, You can also just select it down here with your data sheet view. And then on the records section of your home ribbon, you'll see your delete. You can also just press your delete key because that entire row was selected in my data sheet view. It will know that I want to delete that. Anytime you delete an entire record, you will get a message asking you, are you sure this is what you want to do? And it is, so we will click the yes button there. The next section in our textbook goes over the filtering that you can do. There are 4 different ways that you can filter your database. The first one is filter by selection. Okay, so I'm going to close out of my form here, and we're just going to open up the veterinary vendors table. So in filtering this, the filter by selection, you are going to be in the city field, and you select the second city, which is Blanding. And so this one, you have to know information before you start filtering. We'll come up here to the filter by selection, and then you have 4 choices, and we want to choose the one that says equal Blanding. So you see those 2 records there. Now, when you're filtering, you cannot save the filters. So the SAM program can't really know if you did filtering or not because you're not saving any of it. But just so you know, you can filter. You know, maybe you're just like, okay, I know we have a company that lives in or that is from Blanding. What was the name of it? And you know, maybe what's our address or whatever. So you can just pull that up real quick just by doing a filter by selection. What you need to remember about using filters is once you have applied a filter, you will see in the sort and filter section here on your home ribbon that the toggle filter is gray. And it's not dimmed out gray that you can't use it. It's gray highlighted to show that the filter is turned on. The other thing you can do is look down here in the in your navigation buttons, and you'll see a little section there that tells you that what you're looking at right now is filtered, a filtered table. So to remove the filter or to turn off the filter, I guess we're not really removing it. We're turning the filter off. So we do toggle filter off and we see all 5 of our records again. Now, the reason I say we're not removing the filter is because that filter is still set up as the last filter that was created. So if you go back and you click toggle filter, it's going to go right back to where to what you filtered before. So because you're going to be doing 4 different filters right in a row, you have to go into the advanced button, and you'll see that first option there says to clear all filters. So when you clear the filter, now you are not able to use that toggle filter button because there's nothing in the filtering to apply that filter to. So the filter by selection, just click on the button and you're going to choose it from there. All right. The second one is common filter. So a common filter is created by, I think we're going to do the state field this time. So the common filter is is found by, we're in the state field. In the field heading there, you'll see a drop down arrow, and you will come down to where it says text filters. And there you can choose, I think they have this, I gotta get to the right place here. Do begins with, and then you will just type in a B. And when you say okay, oh, whoops, I was on the state and not the city. Sorry. But you will see that there's a little funnel here that lets you know that's filtered. And then you can, whoops, we have to go up here and remove the filter. There we go. So let me get on the right thing here. Filter, and then begin with the letter B, and it will filter down to those two same records that we were looking at before. Then you'll turn the filter off, and then you have to clear the filter as well. The third way to filter is doing a filter by form. So this is a little more advanced. This is going to allow you to filter on more than one field. You do have to go into the advanced button, the drop-down menu to do this. So you'll find the filter by form, and you'll see all of the fields are listed up here at the top, and you will just put in criteria. So for the quantity, you'll type in greater than 75. And whoops, I missed something somewhere. Oh, the state. We're going to go to state field and we're going to choose Colorado. Okay, so we have Colorado and greater than 75 in the quantity. So now when we toggle our filter on, you will see that it is maize supplies that we have 100, and they are from the state of Colorado. So that is your filter by form. That one kind of allows you to do a little bit more. You can search, you can change this by coming back up here and taking the Colorado out. Let's see, we clear the filter from state. Yeah. So then you could go back and choose, oh, you can't because you'd have to clear both of them. So you'll just turn your filter off, and you would have to clear it and do other options. So it's not exactly as easy as this next version that we're going to be doing. But you can do multiple fields with this one. So that may be something that's helpful for you as well. The advanced filter sort is the last type of filter that we'll look at. And this, when we go into this, you're going to see that this looks a lot like our queries. So because we already had the veterinary vendors table selected as what we wanted to do, apply our filters to, that is what pops up here. And you will see this is just like our design grid for our query, and you're going to populate it just like you did a query. So we're going to add the vendor name, and we want to sort that in ascending order. Now, I will just tell you right now that I have a habit of putting in all the fields first and then going back and doing a sort or criteria or whatever. But I would caution you against doing that because I always forget to go back and do the sorting. So as you're reading through there, might be a good idea. Vendor name, you're going to select ascending order. And then we're going to also include the state field. And we want to have the criteria for this be CO for Colorado. And then we'll add the quantity field. And here we are going to put in greater than 75 on the criteria row. Then we're going to go down to the or row. So right below there, and we're going to type less than 40.
Rebecca, I'm sorry to interrupt, but may I
I've
ask
got-
a question?
those backwards. Okay, yes.
Okay, you said you don't recommend, what was it? You said you highly don't recommend doing it a certain way, and I didn't quite catch it. And I was
Now I have to think back. to
sorry.
what
It was literally like just a second ago. With the order that you're doing it, is that going to be in the instructions and explained like why, if you don't remember?
Yes. Oh, I know what I was saying. Okay. So in your textbook, it says to add the vendor name field here. And in that same sentence, it says, and select ascending as a sort order. And so what I was saying is I have a tendency to not do the sort. I just kind of skim past that part when I'm reading it. I add the rest of the fields and then I go back and hope I get all of the um, criteria and sorts and things put in there the way I'm supposed to. So again, I would recommend that you just do it as it's written in the textbook and follow along, because there have been many times where I've gotten to the end of a project, I've submitted it with the class, and I get stuff counted off and I'm like, oh yeah, I think I was supposed to sort that ascending and I forgot to go back and do that. So that's what I was saying, is just follow along with your instructions and it'll usually go better than going out on your own and trying to do it your way. But does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so these are our three fields that we're going to use. We have our criteria put in there and we have our sort put in there. So now if we toggle our filter, you will see that our vendor name is in alphabetical order. So M is before R. We do have the state of Colorado that has more than 75, but we're also seeing the one from the state of Utah because it has less than 45 in the quantity. Now, this is a a filter that you can convert to a query if you want to. So if you're just filtering stuff to try to find pieces of information and you're like, oh, hey, this would be a good query for us to save and be able to pull up every week or every month or whatever, you can do a save to get it to save as a query. It will not be saved as a filter, but it can be saved as a query. So since it's a filter right now, we will toggle the filter off. And then we can clear out the filter so that we see all of our information again. In fact, in the next section in your textbook, it gives you more information about the difference between filters and queries. So you can just read more about that. But for our purposes, as long as you know how to use those 4 different ways to filter your database, then that's what you need to know. Okay, so far, I don't think this chapter is too bad. This one is probably easier than module 2. So hopefully that gives you guys some like, oh yeah, maybe I'll be able to do this one. So we're going to go into the section of this module where we're starting to change the structure of our database. So we'll be changing the field size or the field name, or we'll be adding a new field. So that's what this next section is all about. All right. And they give you quite a bit of information at the beginning of this of how to do the things that we're going to be doing. So you can kind of read through that. The first thing they're going to have you do, and I'm not going to go through all of these, I'm just going to kind of point them out to you. You will be going into your design view and you're going to be changing the field size. So let me go to the vendor name. So my field size here is 255. Since they usually have us change that to like 25 or 30, you'll be changing that to something else. And actually, I think you are going to use this veterinary vendors table, and you're changing, you're going to be changing the quantity down here. This is one where the field size is set up as a long integer. And so I will show you this one because this is a little bit different than we're probably used to doing. When they want you to change from long integer to single, so it's not just the size; it's a little bit different. So when you go into the field size down here, you won't see a drop down menu that pops up automatically. You have to go all the way over to the right edge of that line, and then you'll see the options that you have to choose from there. Same thing with the format. You have to make sure that you're on the correct field. So make sure you're in quantity, or you will not see the correct properties down here. You'll go into the format tab, and same thing, you'll have to click on this over here. And I think they have you set that to fixed. Now, I will tell you, if you know what's in the list, currency, euro, fixed, standard, you can just start typing the F and it will pop up that from the list. So you don't necessarily have to go over and use this drop down arrow, but that's where you'll find the options that you have to select from. And then in your decimal places, you'll also change that to 2 places there. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do that because this next step is something that I've never done before. And I don't know if it's something that's new with 2019. Obviously, I did not catch this last semester, so I will just show you. You do have this property update options button that pops up, and you are told to click that, and then you're going to update decimal places everywhere that quantity is used. So instead of having to go into a report and updating the report, or going into a form and updating a form, you are by using this option here, it will, anytime where quantity is used, for example here in the split form, it will be updated for that form as well. To the what did I say this is supposed to be, short or single? Yeah, I think it's supposed to be single. So then I probably would have to do that update again because I didn't have it saved in the first place. Okay, you can also, let me pop over here to the data sheet view of this. I have to save those changes. So if I have my ID field selected over here in my data sheet view, and you don't have to have the whole thing selected, you just be in the ID field. Just like when we created fields in data sheet view, you can click on the right tab here. You can click on the fields tab, and you will be able to, maybe we have to click on the whole thing. Oh. Okay. Let me go back to this because I just was reading to change a number field size in design view. Oh, that's in design view. But I thought it told me down here, data sheet view. Oh, I see. Okay. So it's telling us that we can change the data type from auto number to one of these others, but you're not able to edit the you are not able to edit the properties like we did. You have to go into the design view to change the properties of field size, format, and decimal place in the design view. I don't think you can do that in datasheet view. We are going to add a field to our table. So we are wanting to add this field between the veterinary supply and the quantity. And because we want to put it between those, we are going to insert a blank row. And whenever you insert rows, they will insert above the current row that you're on. So you can select the entire row using your row selector here, or you can just be in the field name where it says quantity. And if you choose insert rows up here on the table tools design, then you'll have a blank line here where we are going to add product type. And I'm doing this because we have a product type of, because we're a veterinary, what are we? CMF vets, okay? So what we deal with in our products are mainly 3 different types of products. Vaccines, supplies, and microchips. So we are going to have the product type field be one of those 3 things. And because it's typically going to be those 3 things, we are going to set up a lookup wizard or a lookup field. We're going to make this a lookup field, which is essentially just making a drop-down list like we're using right here. So you would go into the lookup wizard. This is going to step you through making this drop-down menu. You are going to type in the values that you want to use. So you'll have to make that selection there, that second button. And then this is the screen where you'll type those items that you want to use in your lookup wizard. So we're going to type VAC for vaccine. And I would capitalize all of these just because it's probably not going to get capitalized automatically. So you'll type in VAC, you'll use your down arrow, type in MC for the microchips, hit your down arrow, and then type SUP, I'll get it out here, for supplies. And once you have those 3 items typed in there, you can click your next button. And this asks you, what label would you like for your lookup field? And we're just going to leave that at property type, or yeah, product type. Now, before I close out of this screen, I want to point out 2 things to you. This first one is says limit to list. That's a little checkbox there. We are not checking that checkbox. What that checkbox does is it only allows data to be input that matches the list. And we don't want to do that because maybe down the road we'll find that we have another product type that is beneficial for us to create a separate product type for. So we don't want to limit it to just that list. But if you wanted to, that's where you would do that. You could do that there. The second part of this is, it says, do you want to store multiple values for this lookup? So what that means is, could this supply be both or could this product from our vendor be a vaccine and a microchip? Could it be a vaccine and a supply? And the answer would probably be no, and that's why we have differentiated between these three things. So we don't want to allow multiple values because we would not be calling a product type more than one category. So it's just going to be, we're not going to have a check mark there. So we'll click the finish button. So now our product type has that drop down menu that we can use. I'm going to pop over to the data sheet view here. Yes, I need to save that, sorry. But you'll see here for product type. Now this is a blank column because we had all of our fields in there already, and or we had all of our records in there already, and there was no product type selected. So you'll be able to tell right here from the supply, which are vaccines. So you could use your drop down arrow here and choose that these are both vaccines and so on. Now, what we're going to do here in just a little bit is we're going to create an update query that will update the product type to all be the vaccine, because that is the most common type of product that we have. When you have several of these already in and you're adding a new field for product type, it's kind of handy to do an update query and get most of them correct, and then you only have to go back and change the few that are different than that. So I am going to see if I can remove this. Oh, I can't. Okay. All right, we are going to add another field, and this field, oh, we have to close out of this. It's going to be in our appointments table. So we can open up our appointments table in design view. And in this table, we are going to add a field that is going to have a multi-valued field that we can click that check mark on. These are going to be for the different treatment numbers. And this, I believe the textbook has an error in it here, because it tells us to select the row for treatment number. And then in the data type row, you're going to change it to the lookup wizard. And then you're going to type the numbers. But I thought somewhere it had us put in a new row. Okay, maybe it didn't. Maybe it was too late at night when I was doing this the first time, and I thought we were supposed to add a row there, but we're not. We're going to take the treatment. We're going to change it from short text to this lookup field. So we're going to type in the values that I want. And now this one is going to be, it's going to take you a little while to type all of this in, because it's going to be T-1, T-2. I'm not going to type all of these in because it's going to go down to T-14. So it'll take you a little while to type all of these in. I'm going to stop at 5. So, but you'll have to go all the way down to T14. So I'll click on the next button. Then this is where it's going to ask me what I want the label to be. And I'm going to leave it as treatment number. I do want to check this box that says allow multiple values. Now, I will tell you that when we first started doing this type of adding fields that were using a lookup wizard, if you made a mistake in it, I was like, "Oh, I don't know, just delete the field and start over again and make sure you follow the directions this time." But I have learned a little bit on how, if we don't get this allow multiple values selected, we can change that, so long as we can find it down here in the properties section. So also the same thing, if you get a something in your list typed incorrectly, we can go in and edit that, and I've kind of figured out how to do that. But used to is just like, you have to start over. All right, so what this message is telling us is that we have changed the treatment number lookup column to store multiple values. You will not be able to undo this change once you save the table. Do you want to proceed? And we will say yes to that. So since we have our treatment number set up as the lookup, if you go down here into the properties field, you can click on the lookup tab, and you will see that there is in the row source, the T-1, T-2, T-3. I think it has a semicolon between it, but it's a little difficult for me to see. And I think they're also in a single quote. So the other thing is down here where it says allow multiple values, it's set to yes. Because they gave us the warning that we can't change that, I don't know. I've never tried to change it back to no, but you might be able to here. I have no idea what it will do, but that's where you can look at the properties for your lookup field that you created. Okay, to modify a single valued or multiple valued field. The next step they have is we're going to close out of our appointments table. And yes, I have to save the changes. Anytime you change the structure of your table, you have to save it. And I keep forgetting to do that. So we are going to go back to our veterinary vendors table, and we're going to work in design view for this. We are going to be creating what's called a calculated field. Again, in your textbook, it also says this can be referred to as a computed field. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take the number of pieces, the number of vaccines, the number of microchips or whatever that you have, the quantity times the cost to get the total amount that you have of a particular product. So we're going to create what's called a calculated field. And to do this, we have to create, let me see what they call this here. Okay, so in our blank row under cost, we are going to add our field, which is going to be total amount. And this is going to be a calculated field. So you'll click a drop down arrow and you will see that you have calculated as an option down here. When you choose calculated, you're going to get this expression builder dialog box that pops up. And this makes it super easy for you to create this calculation. We want to double click the quantity field, and then you're going to type an asterisk because you want to multiply that by the cost field. Then you'll be able to click the OK button, and now you have that calculated field created. Very simple to do that. So if I'm going to save my changes this time, and then I'm going to change over to my data sheet view. Oh, I guess I didn't hit save. All right, I'll change over to my data sheet view, and then you'll see here the total amount is the calculation of these two numbers here, or the multiplication of those two numbers. All right, I am going to close out of my veterinary vendors table. Okay, you guys doing okay so far?
Yes.
All right. The next section in your textbook is on mass changes. And this is where you'll be able to read about all of those action queries that I kind of told you about before. We're going to create an update query, which allows you to make the same change to all of the records at the same time. The delete query will allow you to delete all the records that have the specific criteria. However, most of the time you're just going to be deleting one or a few records when you're doing a delete query. So sometimes it's easier just to select that field and then just press your delete, or select that record and then just press delete. You can also add the results of a query to an existing table by using an append query. And I will tell you that when I first was looking at doing append queries, it was trial and error for me, because the reading that went along with it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I would look at what the results were supposed to be, and then I would play around putting in one table first and then another table first, and just playing around with it. So sometimes trial and error is maybe not the fastest way to do things, but for some of us, that is the best way for us to keep it in our head, because we've had to try so many things and then we're like, okay, this is how it's done. So don't feel bad if that's how you have to do it. If the directions aren't making much sense and you just click and play around with it, then so be it. That may be just the best way for you to learn. You also have where you can create a mass change query that is called make a table query. So you might find that you have several pieces in one table that you would find helpful if it were a second table. So you could pull those out and make a new table. All right, I'm going to show you how to do this update query, because I want to show you the different parts of the screen that we see when we go in here. So we'll do create, and we'll just do query design. We are going to add the veterinary vendors table. Now, what we have been doing up to this point is what is called a select query. In fact, we've not even talked about these query types. Well, I guess last time we did a crosstab, but we did not do it from this. We did it from the wizard. So this is still a little bit different. But you have different query types here. You'll see the four that I just talked about: the make a table, the append query. You can have an update query and a delete query. The crosstab is what you did in module 2. I would never feel confident in myself being able to create a crosstab. Well, I say that, I might be able to. Creating a crosstab from scratch, like I'm looking at this right now on my screen, but I can step through a wizard and get it close to, I think, what it's supposed to be. So just keep that in mind. So we are going to create an update query. So you have to make sure that you change from a select query to an update query. And the reason that you do that is if you come back here where we're looking at this is a select query, you don't have an update line, and you need to have an update row in your query design grid. So we'll click on the update. When you click on update, you'll see that you have an update to row now showing in your design grid down here. So we want to add what fields to this. Okay, we're going to double click the property type. I'm sorry, the product type. And then we'll go to the update to row and we're going to type in VAC. When you're doing anything but the select query, you typically are going to want to do a run of that query as opposed to just the view. Most of the queries that you've done to this point can be done by just using the view button and switching back and forth between your design view and your results or your data sheet view. But for our purposes here, when we do an update query, it will be based on our it will be the veterinary vendors table that's updated. It will be the product type field specifically, and it will be, let me see here, where am I at? All right, so let's run this. And okay, you should get a message that says you are about to update 5 rows. Are you sure this is what you want to do? Well, let's say that I have 5 rows that I know do not have the product type in it. So I know that all of 5 of those rows can be updated. Now, because I also know that there's only 3 or 4 customers or products that I need to update, I could say that no, I don't want that to happen. But we can say yes. And then if we go back to view our veterinary vendors table, you will see the product type that all of them have been updated to that VAC for the vaccination product type. Okay, so now we're looking at the changes that have been made by that being added. And then we are going to review, then you'll go in and you'll use a delete query. Oh, well, it shows you how you can use a delete query. I don't know that we actually do that. It shows you how to do an append query and how to do a make a table query. So you'll have that reading to do to figure out how to do those if you need to. All right. We are at a break point. So are you guys doing all okay? I feel like I'm doing a lot more talking tonight, but every time I think I can skip something, I'm like, no, they probably want to see this. So our next section is on validation rules. This is a part of the module that I think they could do some renaming to, because the entire section is called validation rules. And while we're going to set up some things that are going to help whoever's doing end user work on this database be able to put data in and help cut down on any data entry errors that we might have. We also will be at a certain point in time creating an actual validation rule that Access has to follow. And when we create a validation rule, we also will be creating validation text to go with that rule. The validation text is the information that is going to pop up on your screen in a little dialog box when you don't follow the validation rules. So hopefully that'll make a little more sense once I go in there and show you what we're doing. But I think they could call this section something else besides validation rules if they're actually going to have a validation rule that we have to type in. So anyway, that's just a little heads up for you there as before you might do reading or textbook work. Okay, so you can read through your textbook. We're going to be making a field a required field. Currently, our ID field is the only field that is required for this veterinary vendors table, which that is not going to help us any if we only get the ID put in, because we need to know who that ID is going with. At least we need to know a vendor name so we can try to match stuff up. This could get a little confusing if you have one company buy out another company, and then you have to figure out what that vendor name is going to be and how it's going to be changed. But we don't have to worry about that here. So we're going to have, in addition to our ID field as the required field because it's the primary key field, we are going to also require that our vendor name be a required field. We're also going to specify that the quantity field has to be between 0 and 1,000. So for our purposes here, we cannot have more than 1,000 items available for one specific product. We will be putting in, or we will be using a field that will be, we will be setting the properties of one field to have a default value. Probably the product type, if I remember correctly, because the product type is typically all vaccines, that's what it's going to be set as the default value. So when you open up a new record, that product type of VAC will automatically be in the row that you're putting that new vendor in. Okay, so they're going to have you go into our design view of this veterinary vendor table. You're going to change the field size of the zip code field. Now, typically we set this to 5. It's set at 255, but they have us change that to 20. Now, that seems a little odd to me for a zip code field, but that's what they want it set at. That's what we can set it at. The next validation rule that we're going to apply is to set a field to be a required field. In other words, you have to put something in this field, right or wrong, before you can move out of this field. And I'll show you what that looks like. So they want us to choose vendor name. So here in vendor name, we come down to the properties field. You will see where it says required in our property box down here, and then it will say no over here. If you don't want to use your mouse to go all the way across, remember you can backspace that no out, and if you type yes, then it will allow that, or it will make that field be a required field. So the auto ID field is an automatic number, so it's going to create that new number automatically, and that is a good field that you can use as your unique identifier. But you could also use the vendor name as a way to find your uh, customer or vendor, I guess. Our last project was all about customers. So I keep thinking I need to call these people customers, and they're not, they're vendors. But by making the vendor name a required field, I'll show you what that's going to look like here in just a second. The next section has a specify a range. And what this means, and I kind of changed the terminology of this when I was doing this one time, but we want to specify a range of acceptable values for our quantity. No. Yes, our quantity. Okay. So we do not want our quantity to go below 0. We don't want it to be a 0 or below. So our criteria is going to be that we'll have a validation rule down here that says it must be greater than or equal to greater than 0 and less than or equal to 1,000. I'll get it out here. If I can remember what my alligator mouths mean, greater than and less than. I always struggled with that in elementary school, so sometimes I still do. So what we'll do is here in our quantity, you have to make sure you're in the correct field name. We'll come down to the validation rule, and this is where we'll type greater than 0 and less than or equal to 1,000. Now, we should be on the row right below that says validation text. Because we've created a validation rule, we also have to type in validation text. And this is the text that's going to pop up in the dialog box when somebody does data entry incorrectly. Must be. Now, this is not going to have punctuation at the end of it. It's going to read must be greater than 0 and at most 1,000. And then we're done with that. No punctuation. So must be greater than 0.00 and at most 1,000. And then I don't know why they have us keep the decimal places. They don't normally do that, but we did. All right, so we have our validation rule, we have our validation text for the correct field, which is the quantity. And then we're going to go to the product type. This is a field that we're going to make the default value. So we'll come here and select default value, and we want this to be equal VAC. Make sure you're on the default value line. I have to double check sometimes. Okay, now for the product type. Our product type field. Okay, oops, I keep losing this. We're going to go to our product type field, and you should see legal values or allowable values. You should not have anything else in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our product type field selected. Okay. And then in our validation rule, we are going to type equals VAC or equals MC. And I think in your textbook it shows these as capitalized, but you don't necessarily have to do that because I think it will change for you automatically. VAC or equal MC or equal SUP. So once we have that put in as our validation rule, we're going to add the validation text underneath it. Must be VAC. Now this one you will want to watch your punctuation on because it is not, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. So, that we have the validation rule and the validation text. So again, no punctuation in that, which sometimes throws people. All right, because we've been changing the structure of this table, we will need to save the structure changes to the table. So we can click our save button up here. All right, so if I pop back over to our data sheet view, oh, I'm gonna say, I keep thinking I hit save. So we'll save the table, and this is just telling us that some information may be lost because we have changed the rules since we first put the data in. But you can say yes or no because we only have a few pieces of data. It's not going to take long for it to check it. So so we can just say yes, or we can say no. I don't know. What? I don't know. I probably should have read that. Okay, on to, what does that say? Validation. Okay, save them. I did that. Okay. So they have us close out of this veterinary vendors table. I'm going to close out of this query too. Okay, now that I'm thinking about it, there are a couple of queries you're supposed to save. I don't know if I went past them or not, but you will have to make sure that you do save those queries when you are asked to. Oh, yes, I know what I was gonna do. Let me go back in here to the veterinary vendors table. You'll see in the product type that VAC is the default value here. And let's say that I have a new vaccine that is $6.25, and I have 35 of them. So this calculation is going to be done. You will see that there's a pencil icon over here. I think I told you about the pencil icon earlier, but that just means that that data is being written. If I go to another row or another record, I am going to get the message that says you must enter a value in the veterinary vendors name field. So the way you can read that is you need the veterinary vendors and then the veterinary vendor name field, which would be here, is now a required field because that's what the settings were that we put up. All right, so if this happens, you can just type gibberish in there. It does not matter. And then you can click off of it. That information will be saved. If I was needing to, I could send this information to whoever is requiring it, and then they can determine oh, okay, so I don't need this. I'm just playing with this. So, oh my gosh, I just had a Joe Biden moment, didn't I? Sorry, guys. All right. I can delete that record now because let me go back. So no. Okay. So I just had the vendor name put in here, and I just put something crazy in there because I can't get rid of that accidental information unless I put something in that vendor name because it's now a required field. So, okay. What else changes did we make? A required field. Oh, I've had those backwards, didn't I? Oops, that should be 35. Whoops. So we have, those are 35 quantity, and I don't know, I'm just making that up. But if I put in quantity of this, then I should get, why didn't I get an error message? Oh, I bet maybe I did that for cost. Oh, let me go to look and see. Okay, quantity. Oh, I didn't put in the validation rule. Okay, probably skipped that part. So my validation rule, oops, therefore I need to go back here. And this is one thing that is helpful if you screw up like I did. If you are making changes to your structure. Good grief. Okay. So here, somehow I lost this. I remember typing this, but somehow I lost this. Greater than 0 and less than or equal to 1,000. Okay. Oops. Oh my goodness. I'm going to blame it on my glasses. I don't have the right glasses. Okay, I think that's correct. Okay, so let me save that. Okay. Now I'll go back over here and try to make that quantity. Let me get rid of that. Okay, so I have to type something here. That's the default value. The product type is automatically put in as VAC, but I can type in the MC or I can type in the S and it'll pop up. The quantity, So again, I put that in. It should not let me do that, but okay. And those are $6.25 a piece. Okay, I don't know why it's not making that be a, okay, quantity. All right, so I am typing something in here incorrectly, probably because I can't see. So let me try this again. Greater than 0 and less than or equal to 1,000. Okay. Okay, I did something wrong because there I saw that it did its thing. So I'm going to save this. Okay, now let me see what I can do here. Maybe I should leave those off. There we go. So now if I do 1001, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, guys, but hopefully yours does not do that.
That happened to me in the last project too. I was putting the right information and wasn't running correctly, so I have to erase it and start again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I do not know because this is not what we typically do. So, oh, I bet no, that should be a number. It is a number field. It's single fixed to, I don't know. And oh my gosh. I had a student call me today from my online class. He was able to submit his file with the wrong file name. I went in, I looked, he submitted the file, and instead of changing it to a 2, he added a 2. So it was like his name _1 and then _2. And it let him submit it, but he got a 0 on it. So I'm like, I don't know
Yeah.
why it let you submit that in the first place.
Yeah, I
But
was freaking out because I thought I was making changes. I thought I was making changes and submitted the correct one.
okay. So let me see if I can change this. Okay, yay, I finally got it done right. Whatever I did, I don't know. So, anyway, you will get this error message if you don't abide by the rules that you set. And this is the message that you type in. So if you guys probably can't see on my screen, I can barely see it. I actually have 2 decimal places between that 0 and the 2 decimal, the two zeros after the decimal. So anyway, I would want to go back and change that. But I try to tell students the validation text is important because when somebody does use the database and gets an error message, it needs to look professional and not have typing errors in it. So just keep that in mind when you're working with your validation text. So, okay, let's see, we did the default value, we did the required field, we did the product type, or we did the quantity, and we have the calculated field there. Okay, it seems as though there should be something else, but I don't know what that is right now. So let me go back where I'm supposed to be here. Okay, change the contents of the field. All right. That next part there, changing the contents of the field, you're going in and you're taking out, or you're adding after this, the, oh, guess I should change that, shouldn't I? Oops. Okay, I said okay. All right. You're going in and changing the street address to, you're adding the word boulevard after there. And you will probably have to increase the size of your, it'll probably ask you to do that by double clicking, or you can click and drag to increase the width of your column there. Anytime that you make changes to the width of columns in your data sheet view, you do have to save those changes. Otherwise, it will not, when you close out of it, it's going to ask you if you want to save. All right, so then it has you go through here the next thing and change these to what they need to be. So you'd change this to the microchip, and you'd change this to the supply, maybe supply. Okay. And then you're going to go into, we can close out of this. Then you go into your appointments, and this is where we added the treatment number as a multi-valued field. So what you will do here is they have the treatments in there that they had received already. So our first patient here not only is a T3, but is also a T10. So you would click on the T10. Since I don't have a T10, I'm just going to click on T5. So the second one is a T4, a T7, and a T14. So you will see that you can click on multiple treatments, and you'll see multiple results show up in that column. So I'm just going to go in here and click on a couple of these for each one, so we can see what happens when we do queries on this. So that it's figure 3-54 is what you will need to use to add in the correct treatment numbers for your appointments table. All right, and you may have to, depending on how many, I don't have any that are taking up more space, but you may have to increase the size of this to see if they have enough that it's too wide for that column. So now what I can do is I'm going to close out of my appointments table. And I want to not do that. All right, I am skipping some parts of this. I don't know why they have this. Seems to me like it's in the middle of this, and it shouldn't be. But there is this next section 3-8 is on changing the appearance of your data sheet. I'm not going to go through that. You guys can kind of figure that out on your own. There's a totals button up here. You're going to add that. Then you'll be able to see different types of totals, and it'll take you through some things there. You're also going to be using the text formatting section over here, where you can change the grid lines to show horizontal or vertical or both. You can change the color of your font. You can change the font, change the alternating colors. So those are all different things that you work through in that section. I'm skipping ahead to 3-9 because I want to show you how to create a query using the multi-values that we created. So I'm going to open up my appointments table here and add it. And I guess I might as well follow the directions while I'm doing this. So we're going to add the appointment ID, patient ID, appointment date, and then the treatment number field. Now you'll notice when you see the fields that are available here for the appointments that you have a treatment number field and you have a treatment number .value field. We want to, I did not get all of this. What did I miss? Appointment ID, patient ID, appointment date, and then I want treatment number. So you want to make sure that you have treatment number and not treatment number .value. We're going to use that one here in just a second, but we just want the one that says treatment number for right now. So when we view this query, you will see that patient F1 has their appointment on June 30th, and these are the treatments. And so they're listed for each patient or animal, the different treatments that they need to receive. This is handy if you need to see what each patient needs. If you're on the flip side of that and you need to see how many treatments you're going to need for a specific period of appointment dates, you may need to see that treatment number information in a different way. So I'm going to head back to my design view and I'm going to show you if you change this to treatment number .value and we run this query, now you'll see that this is our patient number, or I'm sorry, our patient F1 and the two treatments that they will be receiving. This might be helpful if I were to sort this field in ascending order. And now when I view the results of this, I see that I need 2 T1s, 2 T2, or 3 2Ts. And so you could also, and again, if you have a lot more information that you're dealing with, you could put your criteria in here of T-5. And when you run the query, you see that you need 2 treatments of the T5 on June the 30th. So you would be able to check your inventory, make sure you have those available. So that is how you would use the multi-valued field. Either you can see for one patient everything that they're getting on one line, or you can see all of them that you need set out individually. So both of those are kind of helpful to know. Okay. So the first query, I didn't scroll far enough. You're supposed to save as M0301. And then this one that I've just done here, you would save as M03Q02. So this would be query 2 from module 3. All right, then I would have to go back and save that other one and change it back. So okay, let me go back and see this. To include multiple values on multiple rows. Okay, I did that. Close my query. Okay. Okay, so now I am supposed to open my appointments and treatments query in design view. All right, so this query has the join, and this should have been from module 2 when we put those together. And then we can click on the join line here. If you do a right click and you delete the join, they are going to have us, and I got to read this carefully again, join, or they are going to have us join the treatment number dot value to the treatment number field in our treatment cost table. So that's going to create a different join since we have that. All right, so now if we run this query, let me go back to that. Okay, I don't know what the treatment number. Okay, I can't see. Treatment cost treatment. Oh, I think I must have done the wrong one. No, treatment number. All right, did I go to the wrong one? Treatment. Okay, let me read this again. Join the treatment number value to the treatment number field in the treatment cost table. I did that. But I don't know what the query is doing because that doesn't make any sense to me. Oh well. I did it the way that they wanted me to. So I probably just need to read more directions as to what this is telling me. Oh, it's probably doing based on the treatment and the cost. I don't know why they don't have us put one of those in the query, but okay. Well, you guys can do that. You may come up with something different than I did, but I'm not seeing what I'm supposed to do with that. So, all right. The next part has you enforce referential integrity. The easiest way for me to explain this is, okay, we are going to create a relationship between the two tables, the owner's table and the patient's table. So we're going to create a relationship. To do that, we have to go to database tools, and then there's a relationship button that you hit there. You are going to add the owner's table to this relationship window, and you are going to add the patient's table to this relationship window. And then you are going to drag the owner ID field from the owner's table to the owner ID field in the patient's table. And this is where you, you'll see this edit relationship pop up. And this just allows you to check that, yes, you're wanting to, you got the owner's table, you got the patient table, you're wanting to have a relationship between those two fields that is correct. Right below that, you'll see where it says enforce referential integrity. So you're going to click in that. And then you also want to choose the option right below that that says Cascade update related fields. Your textbook will do a little bit better explanation of this for you, but basically a simple explanation here. What we have done by creating this relationship here is we need to collect the owner information. So we need all of this information before we're able to put in a patient's information that has the owner ID. If you only collect the patient information and you only have the owner ID field, if for some reason something happens and the owner table never gets updated with this new owner ID, then you'll have a patient floating out there that you've assigned an owner ID to, but there's no owner ID that matches up to that owner. So then you have a lost animal or something somewhere in your system, which is not good. So what the enforced referential integrity does is it will not let you put an owner ID number in the patient field or in the patient table unless there is already an owner ID of that number in your owner's table. So it basically is making you put in the owner information first so you know how to contact them and how to get a hold of them to pay your bill, which is probably what you really are more interested in. And it won't let you add a patient that you don't have the owner information for. Once you create that relationship, your book talks more about this, a one-to-many relationship. So this table, the owner's table, can only have an owner ID listed one time, where the patient table can have the owner ID listed multiple times because they could have more than one patient or pet. So that's the one-to-many relationship and how you would create that. Now, when you start to close out of this relationship window, it is going to ask you if you want to save the changes. You will want to say yes to that because that is something that is sometimes graded. And so if you don't have that saved relationship, then it's going to say you didn't do it. And the next part of the textbook has you going through and checking that. So if we were to open up our patients table, and so I would put in that this is patient 10, and I don't know. We already have a Max. So what's a good name? I don't know. Jolly. And let's say this is a dog. And we'll call it a mutt or a muff. And the owner is owner dash 12. So I try to put owner 12 in, and I get this message that says I cannot add or change a record because a related record is required in the table labeled owners. So because I don't have an owner 12, then I can't put this information here. So I would have to say okay, and then I would have to, oops, okay. I would have to, okay, I don't know what that means, but, okay. So what I'm gonna do, O-1, oops. What is this saying? Okay, maybe that's it, P-45. I don't know. Hopefully that will let me do it. Okay, there. P-10 was already taken, I guess. Oh yeah, there it is right up there. All right. So now that I have that fake information in there, I can't keep it in there, but actually, let me see. I was gonna say I should be able to keep this information here, but I have to go back and put in the owner information before I can assign it. So it's a good idea to just not include anything here until you have the owner's table filled out properly. All right, so I'm going to open up my owner's table here in data sheet view. The next part of your textbook, well, actually, I think I skipped some of that, but you can read through the next parts of that. The next thing that we have to do is look at these sub data sheets. When we created this relationship, we have little plus signs that show up here. When you click on those plus signs, this is what's called the sub data sheet. So for your patients, for your owners, in this particular setup of a database, I can see where this would be very, very helpful or beneficial because I'm looking at owner 1, and they have 4 pets. So if I was needing to work with Ted and work with getting his animals vaccinated, or what do you do? You worm them, or you, I don't know, cut their claws or whatever. Being able to see the one owner and all of the animals would help you be able to decide what needed to be done with them. The other thing you can do here is you can add additional patients if you need to, that go along with Ted. So once you add this information here, it is in your patients table, okay? Because it's already matched up with Ted. So I was talking with a student, or I don't know, somebody, one thing that you need to remember, and I don't know that I told you guys this very well, your tables are really the only objects that actually store data. This little sub data sheet is not really a structure. This is just something that is created when I click on the little plus sign here. So it's not actually saved anywhere. It just kind of appears into this structure based on the patient's table because of that relationship. So like that, all of your queries, all of your forms are just saved as structures. Because when you open a query and you run it again, the data may be changed because you may have added patients, you may have added owners. So only the structure of those things are saved. It's not until you run a report or run a query or run or work with a form that you'll actually be able to see data in those. So that is just maybe a little bit helpful for some of you that are trying to figure out how this whole database thing works. So, okay, the last part of this talks about handling inconsistent data. It also talks about how to use the sort and ways that you can order your records. So basically it's talking about the sort when you're in a table view. So we have our owners table open here. You can sort by default. It's always going to sort by your primary key, which is the owner ID. If you want to sort them by the owner last name, you could sort them in reverse alphabetical order. You could sort them in ascending order. So that neither one of those is going to match up with the owner ID because the owner ID is given based on, I guess, when the owner walks in. So, all right. The other thing I will try to remind you of here is when you go to save, no, that's the other one. When you go to get ready to submit, make sure you go to the info page here in the backstage view and you do your compact and repair. Because we've been working with this database for a while, it is getting larger. It's always a good idea to compact and repair and make it as small as it can be before you go back and submit it into the Cengage website. So, all right, I'm going to stop sharing this. All right. So this hopefully will not be as bad maybe for some of you as module 2 was. I started to talk with you guys earlier about testing. I started to go get my correct glasses a couple of times, but I did not get that done. So, I don't know. I thought I was already in that somewhere, but I guess I'm not. Or I got out of it. So this week you will be working on these 3 tasks for Access Module 3. You're training your textbook and a textbook project, and then your SAM Project B. Next week is when your Access exam will be available for you. So spend this week focusing on getting finished with your Access stuff, and you can go ahead and start reviewing for the test. Make sure you go back and do those trainings. I went today and extended the date of those trainings. I think maybe it was for the other class. I'll have to check yours. So you can go back and start reviewing the modules 1 and 2 trainings to get ready for your test next week. Next week on Tuesday, we will start working through PowerPoint Module 1. Also, I will point out next week is, let me look here. I think, isn't the 6th? Yes. So the 6th is when we will have your access tests available, and it will be due on the 12th. The 12th is the last date for you to drop or withdraw this class without an assessment. So if you are someone who is feeling like maybe your grade is not where you want it to be and you don't want to have a D or F on that grade card, I will just point out that the 12th is the last day that you can withdraw without assessment. You can withdraw later than that, but you'll still get the grade, or it'll still show up as a grade that you would have received. I always like to point that out about this time in the semester so you guys can get that done if you need to. But PowerPoint section, if you guys have used PowerPoint before, hopefully it won't be too difficult for you. They really don't throw a whole lot of new things at you each time in the different PowerPoint modules, but there are going to be new things. And I will tell you that PowerPoint can be a application that you just spend a lot of time in, just finding stuff to play around with. So keep that in mind as you plan your work for those next few weeks. So we will have, next week we'll do PowerPoint 1, then PowerPoint 2, and the 20th will be where we do PowerPoint 3. That following week, the last week of April, you'll do your PowerPoint exam, and then there are some trainings and quizzes for Outlook. There is no test over Outlook, and there's no Outlook parts of the final exam. But we do need you to do them. We have had over the years several requests from businesses that our students have some working knowledge of Outlook. So those trainings give you some good insight into things that you might be asked to do if you are using Outlook at an organization where you might find yourself working in the next few years. I will talk just a little bit about your final exam. Your final exam is going to be, you're going to have the full finals week to complete the projects. You will have one project for Microsoft Word that will pull knowledge from all 3 modules that we did. You will have another one for Microsoft Excel, another one for Access, and another one for PowerPoint. So you're basically having like 4 projects that are probably like doing both projects combined for each module. So like your textbook project and your homework project, if you combine those into one project, that would be like what you can expect for time and length of project. If you just put those things together, that might be a good way to kind of relate it, of what you would be expected to do. But you will have the full week to do those, so they'll be available the 4th, and they have to be turned in on the 10th, and I think I have to have grades turned in on the 12th or something like that. So I will double check all those dates for you, but that's what you can kind of expect for final exam stuff. I do think it will be beneficial for you to review your trainings for your final exam, even though it's not going to be the same format. You'll see some of the same things that you were given in your trainings, each module, that that can be helpful in helping you get through that final exam part. So the thing that you'll need to do for finals week is plan to have time set aside to do each of those projects. You will not want to sit down and do all 4 of those at one time. I will tell you that right now. In fact, when you go in and you download your instructions, you might be a little overwhelmed by the length of the instructions. But just remember, it's pulling from all 3 modules to get you to do that one project. So, and I also will tell you, don't stress about if it's asking you to do, for instance, if you're asked to do a relationship like we did tonight, create that relationship and save that relationship. If you're like, I have no idea how to do that, don't feel bad about skipping that one part, because now I wouldn't encourage you to skip an entire section or something like that, but I wouldn't stress about not knowing how to do that one part. So you just move past that, go on and do what you can, and get those turned in. So, but anyway, hopefully that gives you a little bit understanding about what you can expect. What, in 6 weeks or so, whenever, 4 weeks, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. When you get ready to do your final. Any questions about access or anything else I talked about?
No.
Nope. Okay. Well, then I'll let you guys go. If you have any questions you want to stay around and ask me about individually. If you have not been looking at your grades, either in Blackboard or Cengage, they should be the same because they're linked together. The only reason they wouldn't be the same is if you've turned something in recently that hasn't gotten synced with Blackboard yet. I don't think I've made any changes individually that haven't been uploaded yet. But so look at your grade either in Cengage. I would figure that you're in there more often than you might be in Blackboard. But if you're in Blackboard for other courses, pop in there, see where you're at grade wise. Also, if you don't have a score, if I haven't updated something, like maybe I should have, if I've missed it or skipped over it, or if you think I just don't like you and I haven't done it yet, then feel free to reach out to me and say, hey, I thought you were going to check this. I thought you were going to look at the scores on this particular assignment or something. So let me know. Also, I know some of you that have missed some assignments that I've made available. You may not see those in this particular week's stuff. So if you're looking at your weekly view, you may want to pop out of that, or I guess you would I don't know how you would go to see those other than clicking back in your outline view and clicking through each of the assignments that you may need to have updated. So I know we've had some things here or there for one reason or another, that some of you guys have had some assignments you need to go back and get finished up. So check those out if you need to. Other than that, if you don't have questions, I don't have anything else. So you can work on this, and I will see you next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
So I just wanted to touch base with you on the assignments that you made available for me. I did complete them all. I did miss one of the Access projects yesterday, but I got that submitted in before class today.
Okay.
So I'm completely all caught up, but the grading section still says 0 for it. I'm assuming there's still delay or something with that.
Okay. That is, it should give you a score of some type, especially if you downloaded their start file from there. But like I said earlier today, that kid was able to submit an assignment with the wrong file name and didn't get any score. So I will.
Well, no, Cengage has given me a score, but the
Okay.
grade report at Blackboard says it's a 0.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that just hasn't synced yet, probably.
Okay.
Or I may have to do a resync because it probably matched up after it was due at that due date time. And so yeah, I'll have to adjust that.
Okay, I just wanted to
sync again.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know I'm completely caught up.
Right.
No more latenesses. My schedule's back on track. And I do apologize for all the issues I've had over
Well,
the
those things happen, and I think now more and more with a lot of people still working from home, a lot of students still at home, that there's just been a lot of internet and also a lot of scheduling things for people. So we'll get it figured out. So not much longer now on the downhill side. So
Funny enough, a little off and on topic. I worked for security for a bit, and they had me actually make an Excel spreadsheet. And I could have definitely used a lot of the information with Access and Excel for that.
Yeah.
Because my boss came back and he's like, there were some errors that I had to correct, and I was like, I don't know, I'm not proficient with it.
Yeah. So
I thought that was funny. I remember.
For the future.
Yeah, now I do know for the future. But
yeah.
I just wanted to let you know that, and thank you very much.
All right. You're welcome. We'll see you next week.
Have a good week.
All right. Bye.